This video is brought to you by Ridge Wallet, a slim front pocket wallet available in carbon fiber and titanium. With more than 250,000 sold, a lifetime guarantee and free shipping, get 10% off with the code GOLDFISH at ridgewallet.com. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So as you know, Tuesday means it's Type 2 or Standard Tuesday, and we have a really sweet kind of combo-y, stompy Rakdos deck to look at today. This is a deck we're calling Torgaar Thud, and it comes to us from Saka Aino Yuta, who took it to a top 16 finish in a not that small Japanese tournament. Actually, the tournament was like 250-ish players, which is like a SCG Classic, maybe even a little bigger than some SCG Classics, so a really reasonable sized tournament in a really strong top 16 finish. So this isn't the infamous small Japanese tournament. This is a pretty legit finish for a really unique, super sweet deck. So a quick reminder before we break down Torgaar Thud for Standard. If you enjoy this deck and you'll want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Torgaar Thud is built around Torgaar Famine Incarnate, a big 8-mana 7/6 that is actually really powerful, but with kind of a weird drawback to it. So first off, when Torgaar enters the battlefield, we set someone to half of their starting life total, which means in Standard, we're putting someone to 10 life. There's no weirdness here. It's worded that way because of, like, Commander. You wouldn't want to say 10 life, because then that's a really big thing in Commander. So half of your starting life total is always going to be 10, which means if we're really low on life, we can go up to 10, but more likely, our opponent's going to be high on life. We put them down to 10 so we can kill them more easily. The other big thing about Torgaar is, even though it's 8 mana, it's really not 8 mana, because we can sacrifice creatures to reduce its cost by 2. So if we can sack 3 creatures, Torgaar is a 2 mana 7/6 that puts someone to 10 life, which is really, really powerful. And that's kind of plan A of this deck. Play a bunch of random creatures we don't mind sacrificing that either make tokens or generate value right away or come back from the graveyard. And then we can use them to feed our Torgaar, get it down really early, set our opponent to 10, and hopefully just stomp over and kill our opponent with it. So our first two feed the Torgaar creatures are Dusklegion Zealot, Goblin Instigator. Dusklegion Zealot draws us a card when it enters a battlefield, so it's kind of already done its job, and we don't really mind sacrificing it because it's just a 1/1 anyway. And then Goblin Instigator, kind of a combo with Torgaar because it makes 2 creatures. We get the Goblin Instigator itself and a Goblin token, which means for 2 mana, we're getting 4 mana's worth of sacrifice fodder. So just a Goblin Instigator all by itself makes Torgaar cost just 4 mana if we sacrifice both parts of it. So combine these cards together and say we go Dusklegion on turn 2, Goblin Instigator on turn 3. On turn 4, we have enough creatures that we can play a 2-mana Torgaar and get a really big threat on the battlefield. We also have a couple other sacrificey type things. Legion Warboss, it's a good threat on its own. It also makes a 1/1 Goblin each turn, and instead of beating our opponent down with a bunch of 1/1s, we can sacrifice those to Torgaar to make it a little bit cheaper. And then Rite of Belzenlach is kind of like a backup Torgaar and backup Torgaar fuel. So when it comes down, we get a couple of 0/1 clerics. Next turn, 2 more 0/1 clerics. So altogether, we get 4 0/1 clerics. And then the payoff for the saga is we get a 6/6 demon with flying and trample that makes us sack a creature on each of our upkeeps, or we take 6 damage. But it kind of fuels itself since we can sacrifice the clerics to the demon that we get from Rites of Belzenlach. Also, we can sacrifice those clerics to make Torgaar cheaper. So you throw that all together, and it gives us another really big stompy creature to close out the game, and plus a bunch of dorky tokens that we can sacrifice to Torgaar or to feed our Rite of Belzenlach demon. We also have Rekindling Phoenix, mostly in our deck because it's a good card, but it does kind of combo with Torgaar as well, since when it dies, we get that token at the beginning of our next upkeep, it sacrifices, Rekindling Phoenix comes back with haste. So while we would prefer to be beating down with our Rekindling Phoenix, we can, in a pinch, do something like attack with Rekindling Phoenix, post-combat main phase, sack it to Torgaar to get down our Torgaar, and then knowing that on our next turn, as long as that token survives, we're going to get back our Rekindling Phoenix with haste anyway. So that's our main Torgaar plan. The other super sweet thing about this deck is it's not just a beatdown deck, it's also, in a weird way, kind of a combo deck. So the combo does involve Torgaar, but here's the plan. So let's let's say we get a bunch of those random dorks on the battlefield. Let's say our opponent's all the way up at 20 life. We can sacrifice a bunch of stuff to play Torgaar for 2 mana, put our opponent back down to 10. Step 2 is Thud. So Thud lets us for 1 mana sack a creature and deal damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So that means we put our opponent to 10 with Torgaar. Then we, for 1 mana, sacrifice the Torgaar, hit our opponent for 7 more, putting our opponent down to 3, which conveniently puts them in Lightning Strike range. So Torgaar plus Thud plus Lightning Strike equals, maybe for 5 mana, if we can cast Torgaar for just 2 mana, killing our opponent 3-card combo for 20 damage for just 5 mana in Standard. Cast Down just gives us a little extra removal. Plague Crafter works really well with all of our random token makers, since we have so many kind of bad creatures in our deck that we don't mind sacrificing. Plaguecraft are kind of a free roll. We sacrifice our Dusk Legion Zealot, our Goblin token, hopefully make our opponent sacrifice a real creature. Doom Whisperer works with the big beatdown plan, so if we're not combo killing with Torgaar, we can just make big demons with Rites of Belzenlok. We can just play big Doom Whisperers. We can play big Torgaars and Rekindling Phoenixes and just kind of smash our opponent that way. We also have 1 copy of Sarkhan's Unsealing, which works well with Torgaar, works well with our Doom Whisperer, other big creatures. It works especially well with Torgaar because it triggers the 7 or greater power part of Sarkhan's Unsealing. So if we get out Sarkhan's Unsealing before Torgaar, not only do we deal 4 damage to something, we deal 4 damage to all of our opponent's creatures and planeswalkers and their face, which is a really nice, kind of tricky board wipe that we can backdoor into with this deck. Mana base wise, pretty straightforward Rakdos mana base for right now until we get the rest of the Shocklands. Dragon Skull Summit, Cinder Barons, a bunch of basics. In the sideboard for the control matchups, Duress to pick apart our opponent's hand, Angrath to also attack our opponent's hand, Argo's Bloodfast to draw some cards, Eldest Reborn, kind of a 3-for-1, can get back one of our big demons, and then against aggro, we have Moment of Craving as early game removal that gains us life, Faraska's Contempt, more life-gaining removal, Golden Demise is a sweeper, and that is Torgaar Thud for Standard, and that's better instant deck tech for today. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.